Definitely a tough one to swallow here this evening. There's a lot to unpack here after this game. So we'll do our best. As Scott Van Pelt likes to say, I'm not tired and I'm not ready for bed yet. So we'll break this down the best we can. Obviously, comments are always welcome. Keep them somewhat constructive, please, too. So I know there's a lot of people that might be upset right now. Again, tough pill to swallow tonight. It really is. Ohio State played about as good as you could play. Had some mistakes late in the game defensively. Latham Ransom falls down on a long pass. I mean, that's no fault of nobody. So, but with 54 seconds left, C.J. Stroud got him in position to at least try a field goal for the win, okay? And it doesn't happen, but, as fans, this is what you live with. So let's get started here. As you know, I like to break the game down. I have a drive chart. I like to talk about the plays, big plays during the drives. We'll go over some stats. We'll look at your comments, and we'll look towards the future right now. So there's a lot to unpack, as I said. So let's just go ahead and get started here. So Ohio State comes into the game. They were as it came out, started at 6.5-point underdogs. By the time they kicked off, I believe it was about 4.5 or 5 points, wherever you might have been looking at, whatever sports book you might have been at, 4.5, whatever. So there was some big money coming in on Ohio State. Obviously, they got the payoff with that because Ohio State covered the line. They got the 4.5 points, and they got the win. So the bookies got beat up tonight out in Vegas with that one. But, again, as an Ohio State fan, that's not what we want to hear. We want to be playing in the national championship game next week in California. So, anyway, Georgia wins the toss. They decided to defer. And Ohio State, after one first down, they get sacked and have to force a punt back to Georgia. So how is Ohio State going to handle the physicality of the game? That's what we wanted to see. So right away, Stetson Bennett, not even handing the ball off, started to thread the needle, started to work right down the field with his receivers. And but to Ohio State's credit, they were able to get a stop on third down. Bennett had a misread on a zone read play, and he probably should have handed the ball off, but he did not decide to keep it. Ohio State was able to go ahead and clip him and end up with a loss on the play, held him to a field goal, but guess what? Missed field goal. So Ohio State did a great job on that opening drive from Georgia by not only stopping him, a bend don't break situation. They held him to a field goal, and they were end up getting out. There were no point scored. So great momentum for Ohio State right there. What's Ohio State do? Like Ohio State does, and like we've seen throughout the year at times. They go 4 plays, 71 yards. Marvin Harrison, and we'll talk more about him towards the end of the evening here. But Marvin Harrison was absolutely outstanding, especially in the first half. He catches a 31-yard touchdown pass. It was a great play from Stroud. Stroud was under duress. He did a great job moving in the pocket all night, avoiding contact, dipping, getting under guys the whole night, and extending plays. And he was able to find Marvin as he gave him a little hand. And Harrison came open in the end zone, and he got it to him on a great sliding catch. Ruggles adds on the extra point, and it's 7-0. So great job right there. Ohio State in a hostile environment. They're outnumbered. It's a home game for Georgia. The Mercedes-Benz Dome is only about 71 miles from campus. So from what we gathered, it was about a 65-35 probably fan advantage for Georgia in that game, which was to be expected. So Ohio State did a great job, though, handling some of that. They went right down the field on their second possession. They go up 7-0. So what do I always like to say? I always say after a touchdown, especially like that, are you able to keep the momentum? Are you able to get Georgia or whoever you're playing off the field? So Georgia gets the kickoff. The first play from scrimmage, they try to run a little reverse or a little quick handoff. Zach Harrison makes an unbelievable play, puts Georgia way behind the sticks. They end up in the 3rd down and long, and Ohio State can't get off the field. And they make a great play out there. McAllister can't knock a pass down. Bennett puts it right where he needs to. Their receiver makes a great play. It's a 1st down, and with it, Georgia methodically was able to get down the field. They go 8 plays, 75 yards. They hit a wide receiver screen to McIntosh. He breaks it for about 25 yards, and they go up 7, and they end up going in for a touchdown. They tie it up at 7-7. So all in all, so far, a good first quarter, okay? This is kind of what you expected or were hoping for as an Ohio State fan. You wanted to see, can we hang around? Can we hang around? There's going to be haymakers in this game. It's just the way it is. You got 2 heavyweights playing. It's going to be haymakers thrown. How does Ohio State react? Well, Ohio State takes over. They go on a drive. They end up going 6 plays. The first quarter ends. So very, very good spot right now. 7-7 first quarter ends, and Ohio State's driving. Ohio State then continues to take over on the drive. They end up with a 3rd down in the red zone, and Ohio State catches a break. Egbuka gets grabbed. They get an interference call, sets them up on 1st and goal, and 2 plays later, Mayan Williams ends up barreling in for a touchdown. Ohio State also on that drive, if you remember, they caught a huge break. Marvin Harrison caught a great pass coming across the field, and Keely Ringo for Georgia was able to come and swat it out of his hands. The ball was in play. Georgia was unable to recover it, so Ohio State got a huge break there, just only with that fumble. Also then with the pass interference, which extended the drive, Ohio State was able to take advantage and go up 14-7. So here we go. Ohio State comes right back at Georgia, says, you know what? They're not going to feel sorry for themselves. They came right back down the field, won 11 plays, banged it in for a touchdown. They're up 14-7. Back to Georgia, and this is when I really started to feel good about the game and the situation. First play from scrimmage, Stetson Bennett. He wanted to go out to his right with a pass, but Ohio State had it defended, and he got major pressure from that right side, or the defensive left side, in his face. He tried to go back to his left real fast. He threw a pass. The wide receiver wasn't looking. Still Chambers, Johnny on the spot. Boom, with a pick. He gets tackled, and Ohio State's in business again right there in plus territory on Georgia's 30-yard line. And it didn't take long once again. Ohio State, they go 3 plays, 30 yards. Harrison, another great job avoiding pressure, avoiding a sack. He dipped under some pressure. Jalen Carter, with a great move, came right at him up in his face. He was able to scramble out to his right. And once again, there's Harrison. He puts it where only Harrison can get to it. Sliding play, boom, with the reception. We've got a touchdown. It's 21-7. And Ohio State is cooking right now. The momentum is all on their sideline, and things are going great. And so you're sitting there, and you're thinking to yourself, man, this is exactly what we need. Don't kick field goals in the red zone. We got to score touchdowns. Ohio State at this point is 3 for 3 on touchdowns in the red zone, and you couldn't ask for more than that. So they kick off to Georgia, and it didn't take Georgia long, too. Georgia goes 4 plays, 75 yards. They had another play where Ohio State had Georgia after a sack in a 2nd and long, and they hit a deep pass down the middle. Tommy Eichenberg, the coverage that they were running, okay, Tommy Eichenberg had to get back in coverage, and one of the fastest guys on Georgia's team just beat him down the spot. Stetson Bennett again. You got to give credit, as I always say. He put it right where he needed to. They make a great play, and Georgia's right back in the red zone. And it was a few plays later. Milton takes it in for a TD on a strong run over the right side. It was reviewed, but you could see as his elbow came down, his ball broke the plane of the goal line, and it was 21-14. And right there, you're just trying to hold on a little bit. You know what I mean? You're saying to yourself, okay, it just happened so quick. We just couldn't get Georgia at times to take time off the clock. You could handle Georgia scoring, but they were doing it so quickly. It was 4 plays, 5-play drives for touchdowns. No time was coming off of that clock. And it was just such quick plays and quick scores. And again, you know, when you're scoring like that, it ends up being a track meet. And again, I kind of figured the only way Ohio State would try to win the game, it had to be in the upper 30s if they could. And we got just over that, and we just came up short, as I said. But we'll talk, I said, more about that down the road here. But so 21-14, Ohio State gets the ball back. What happens? They get a sack, and Ohio State's got to go 3 and out. Georgia clearly has all the momentum right now. And what happens after a halfway decent punt? They take over on their own 38-yard line. And what did I talk about? 3 plays, 62 yards. It really should have only been 1 play, okay, because McIntosh broke free on a long run on a great little cutback. Nobody was there for Ohio State. He basically should have hit his head off the goalpost, but the turf monster gets him at about the 10-yard line. So I really thought that could have been a huge break for Ohio State had they kept him out of the end zone. Imagine keeping him out of the end zone there and holding him to a field goal, which should have been a touchdown, and it ends up not being a touchdown. But Stetson Bennett takes a snap on the 3rd play of that drive. They run a little power quarterback to the left. He's able to beat Tuimoloau to the corner, and it's 21-all. And all the momentum Ohio State had at that point is now gone. It's 21-all. The place is jumping. Georgia sideline is jumping. How can Ohio State can we get a drive going? Can we get some time off the clock and get some things going and try to stop the bleeding right now? So what happens? Ohio State goes 3 and out. There was a 4th down play that could have kept the drive going. If you guys remember, it was a great play call by Day. He ran a quarterback power to the right, and Rossi gets caught turning upfield too much. Unfortunately, we don't play Canadian rules football where you can turn upfield, and he gets flagged for the illegal motion. It cost Ohio State the 5 yards. Now they've got a punt. Ohio State could have kept on the ball because it was an easy 1st down by Stroud. But, again, you got to kick it back to Georgia. They've got the momentum. They go 8 plays, 53 yards. But the nice thing is Ohio State keeps them out of the end zone and holds them to a field goal. So here you are. You're at 24-21 now. You're down. You were up 21-7. Georgia has now just scored 17 straight. You've got about a minute and change left in the first half. How aggressive does Ohio State want to be going into the half at this point? Well, as Ryan Day said, look, we're going to push all the chips to the center. We're going to empty out the closet, and wherever we're at, that's where we're at the end of the game. And I loved the aggressiveness just before the half. Ohio State goes 4 plays. They go 75 yards. Egbuka with a great catch and run. Fleming with another great catch and run. They killed Georgia all night long, as Herb Street said, on those over routes. A lot of action going to one side, and a lot of the receivers coming all the way back across the field. It absolutely killed Georgia all night, and it set Ohio State up in a great position. And what happens? They run a great play with who I love to call the Swiss Army knife, Xavier Johnson, X-Man. He starts in the backfield and literally streaks right down the center of the field. And Stroud lays it up there perfect to him. He catches it about the 10-yard line, does a little spin move, breaks a little arm tackle, gets into the end zone, and all of a sudden, before you know it, Ohio State's up 28-24. Georgia, then, how aggressive do they want to be? They've got some timeouts, but how aggressive they want to be? Well, guess what? The second play of Georgia's drive just before the half almost resulted in a pick. So that close. But, again, you got to make plays in a game like this. When you have a chance to get an interception like that, I'm not saying it was an easy interception, but when you're the underdog, you're playing in basically an away atmosphere. We got to find a way to make that play, and it's no interception. It ends up Kirby Smart's had enough. He decides, I'm taking a knee. We're getting out of here and getting in the half and trying to regroup. And there you go. Tremendous first half, both sides. It's 28-24 Ohio State. Some of the first half stats, Stroud was 15 of 19 for 238 yards and 3 touchdowns. Marvin Harrison, 5 catches for 106 yards and the 2 touchdowns. Egbuka, 4 receptions for 47 yards. Xavier Johnson, 2 receptions for 43 yards with the long touchdown. Obviously, 37 of it came on that touchdown. Fleming did a great job. He only had 2 receptions, but he had some great plays for those 2 receptions. Again, Ohio State, we didn't expect them to be able to run the ball. Nobody has been able to run the ball on Georgia. So early in the first half, I mean, Dallin Hayden only had 5 carries. Ohio State had 12 yards rushing. Total yards was 248 for Ohio State. They were 2 of 5 on third down. On the other side, Stetson Bennett was 12 of 18 for 191. He had a touchdown. He did have the 1 pick, which led to 7 points for Ohio State. McIntosh rushing, he had the 2 carries for 56 yards. Obviously, he had the big one. He should have knocked his head on the goalpost. The turf monster got him. Edwards goes 4 for 48. Milton goes 3 for 26. He's the one that had the rushing touchdown. Smith had 1 catch for 47 yards. Jack Sang 2 for 34, and Mitchell 2 for 33. Georgia's totals in the first half were 314 total yards. Then they did have the 1 turnover. Again, they had 191 yards passing, 123 yards rushing. So all in all, Ohio State did about as much as you could in the first half. They go up 28-24 in the first half. And listen, if you're Ryan Day and you're Ohio State, you got to love where you stand right now. As I always say, too, who's got the ball coming out to start the second half? Georgia's got to come out and start the second half. So if you're Ohio State, you want to find a way to get Georgia off the field. No scores, no nothing. See if you can get them a 3 and out and do what you can. So all in all, first half, as a fan for Ohio State, you're excited about what we just saw. But remember, it's a 60-minute game, guys. It's not 30 minutes. It's a 60-minute game. And how does Ohio State, Georgia attack the second half? So the start of the second half, as I said, Georgia gets the kickoff, and what do we get? We get Georgia on the 3 and out. Tyleik Williams with the batted ball knocked down on third down, and we get Georgia off the field. So right there, Ohio State, again, feeling good about themselves, feeling real good about themselves. They got Georgia off the field, 3 and out. So can Ohio State add to the lead? Ohio State did a great job on their opening drive. They go 6 plays. They go 70 yards. Catches by Fleming and Egbuka. Xavier Johnson, the Swiss Army knife. He's in at running back, okay? He makes some great runs. And what do we got? Ohio State's got a second down or so inside the red zone, and they run that great play where Egbuka comes in motion. We get the play fake. We get a little bootleg action. Stroud dumps it right over the top to Egbuka. He finishes it off from about 10 yards out, and Ohio State's up 35-24. And, again, great job by Ohio State. Now you're up 11, and you're really, really starting to feel good. The defense is playing well. Everything's going well exactly as you would want it right now for Ohio State. So can we get Uga off the field again? So Georgia gets the kickoff. They get 1 first down, and Ohio State does a tremendous job on another quarterback pressure on third down. They're able to get Georgia off the field again. So great job by Ohio State's defense. After the score, you're up 35-24, and you can't ask for a better situation. You got them off the field, and you're getting the ball back, okay? Now, Ohio State, what do? They can't do anything with it. They can't get any first downs. They can't add any points or anything like that. They go 3 and out. There's a sack. There's a miscommunication at one point. Rossi, I think Rossi ends up leaking out instead of staying and blocking. And that's, again, guys, remember, we had so many different players playing a lot of minutes today that don't play during the year, okay? So Rossi, again, nothing against Rossi, all right? He does what he is, and he is what he is, but he released for some reason. There's a sack. Ohio State's got to give it back to Georgia. So Georgia goes on a nice little drive, okay, but what's Ohio State do? Ohio State bows back up again, and they get Georgia on a 3-play drive. They hold them. They miss a 52-yard field goal. So right there, you're feeling great. It's 35-24. Now you get a missed field goal. Can we add points again? Okay. So Ohio State takes over. They march right down the field, and it looks like Ohio State's about to put the game away. It really does. I really thought the game was going to be put away. And I don't know how you guys feel, okay, but it ends up a 3rd down play, and it really is the reason probably why Ohio State was unable to finish off Georgia. But Marvin Harrison gets popped on the end line. They roll it targeting, and they end up having to go to the review, and they then rule off no targeting. Now, I can tell you guys this. I've seen targeting calls before where it looks like targeting and it's not called. I've seen it where it is targeting, then it's not called, or vice versa, however it may be, okay? But he got hit in the head, all right? It's forcible contact to the head, shoulder, helmet, whatever it may be, okay? He ended up with a concussion and was unable to return to the game. So it wasn't from the blow to the ground. It was from the blow to the head originally, all right? So, but for some reason, they end up taking targeting away, and Ohio State now has to settle for a field goal, all right? Ruggles comes in, drops it in from 25 yards. It'll be definitely one of those calls that'll be talked about for years in Ohio State. Was it targeting? Was it not targeting? Again, I've seen worse calls or easier calls that I didn't think was targeting that ended up being targeting. That for sure was right there on that line of how does the individual end up with a concussion then that he doesn't come back in the game, okay, because there was forcible contact to the head. But, again, so be it. You've got Ohio State up 38-24. It basically ends the 3rd quarter. Georgia runs one play. Ohio State's up 14 points in the 4th quarter. So all Ohio State has to do is try to find a way to limit Georgia. No big plays. Can they run the clock themselves? Can they put more points on the board? Whatever they got to do, okay? That's all Ohio State got to try to do, and they can try and they can get out of the dome with a win and head and play for a national championship. But what ends up happening is Georgia ends up, they go on a 12-play drive, but Ohio State catches a break on the drive. For some reason, Stetson Bennett tries to throw a lateral pass to McConkey, which he short arms, and it really bails Ohio State out, and it causes Georgia to end up having to settle for a field goal, and it ends up, he knocks it in, and it's 38-27 after the 31-yard field goal. So Ohio State gets the kickoff, and here was one of the plays of the game, okay? It was one of the plays of the game, and Ohio State, 4th and short, inside their own territory. It was said in the Michigan game, and it was shown in the Michigan game that Ohio State had a fake punt called that was wide open, and somehow the center, the most important person of it to get the call, didn't get the snap or didn't get the call, decides to snap it back to Mirko for a punt instead, all right? Well, here it is again. Ohio State has it called, and just before the ball is snapped, Kirby Smart for Georgia gets a timeout. The ball was snapped. It's a first down for Ohio State. The drive would have continued. Who knows what happens in that situation, okay? But he gets the call. Ohio State ends up, they have to punt, okay? So they end up having a punt. They go back to Georgia, and then one of the plays of the game, and it's just is mind-boggling to me, okay, how this could happen and just such bad luck. But the first play from scrimmage, Stetson Bennett just absolutely launches one up into the dome sky, and you're wondering where he's at or who he's throwing it to. And there is Smith running all by himself. You're wondering, how did he get that wide open? Well, Lathan Ransom, when he flipped his hips, got his feet caught up on the turf. He got a turf tackle, and there it is. It's a touchdown, and they get the 2-point conversion. So now it's 38-35, and now when you're Ohio State, you're just trying to hold on for dear life in this situation. So can Ohio State get the kickoff? Can they do anything with it? Obviously, the momentum is now gone. It's all on Georgia's side, okay? So what does Ohio State do? They did a tremendous job. They ran 11 plays. They ran off 45 yards. Ruggles comes in. He knocks a 45-yard field goal in that puts them up 6. Now, I don't know about any of you, but myself, you could feel that there was probably a chance that Georgia was going to go down and score. That 6-point lead, you hated to have it. You wished it was 7, but it is what it is. It was a 6-point lead. Is there any way Ohio State could hold on? Well, again, you tip your cap to the opponent at times, okay? And when Stetson Bennett gets it, he goes 72 yards. He goes 5 plays. He hit Bowers on a few plays. They made the plays down the stretch, and he hits Mitchell in the end zone with 54 seconds left with a 10-yard touchdown. They add the point after. It's now 42-41, Georgia. But I really felt, though, that Ohio State would at least have a shot at a field goal. Now, the problem with it, though, is they didn't have the best receiver in the country out there now with them, okay? Losing Marvin Harrison Jr. was absolutely huge late in the game, okay? They, again, there were guys out there. You lose Cade Stover, okay? Your tight end, he's gone for the game, all right? You already don't have Smith and Jigba. You don't have Mayan Williams for some reason. He only gave you what he could give you. You had Xavier Johnson, who was a former walk-on. He's handling the football. Dallin Hayden, the true freshman. Travion Henderson's in a boot with foot surgery. It is unbelievable what Ohio State had on the field to try to get them in field goal range, and that's exactly what they did. C.J. Stroud was able to make some plays, and, there was just one call I didn't really particularly care for, and I don't know if they were trying to catch Georgia, but the handoff to Dallin Hayden late, I just didn't like that call. I don't know if they were trying to catch him. Like I said, maybe he could just squirt out of there or something like that. But again, all you could ask for as an Ohio State fan is, do they get a shot at a field goal? That's exactly what they did. It was a 50-yarder. Those are not automatic. I mean, Noah Ruggles, he won the Rose Bowl for him last year. Granted, it was a chip shot. He is a solid kicker. I'm never going to have a problem with Noah Ruggles with way he kicked the football his career at Ohio State. But a 50-yarder, I was on bated breath, obviously, the entire time. And, again, as they said, it's kind of like you're just trying to get a little extra out of that kick, and he just kind of yanked it. And it was hard. It was a hard pill to swallow, obviously, all of us as Ohio State fans. Very, very hard pill to swallow.